Hey everyone, today I'm going to be doing a video talking to you about one of the weapon lights that I've been using for a while, which is the Streamlight PolyTac. Now I have a couple different versions here. I have the original one that I bought probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and one that I picked up more recently, closer to about a year and a half ago. I've had a chance to use a bunch of different lights. I've used Surefires, I've used Streamlights, I've used Inforce, but Streamlight's been the one that I've been using the longest, whether that be rifle-mounted lights or even weapon-mounted lights with something like the TLR1, and I also have a TLR3. Now real quick, I want to knock out some of the specs on these lights. So the light itself is just over 5 inches, it's about 5.3 inches long, and the body of the light is 1 inch wide, which means that it'll fit a lot of the light mounts that are out there. And the weight with batteries is 4.2 ounces. It has two CR123 batteries, which is included in the package. And the newer ones have a couple different light modes. They have a high, which is 275 lumens, and a low, which is 14 lumens, and then there's also a strobe in there as well. They also advertise that these things are waterproof down to a meter for 30 minutes. So not quite as deep as some other lights out there, but still deeper than a lot of people are going to take their lights. So as I mentioned, these newer ones here actually have 3 different light modes, which are all controlled by the tail cap here. You have, if you just do a half press down or click, you get a high. If you double tap it, you get a strobe. And then if you triple tap it, you get the low. And then once you find the desired one, if you click in, then it'll just hold it in that position. Again, let me see if I can do the low, which seems a little bit bright on the camera probably, but it's like I said, it's about 14 lumens. Now you can just do the momentary on as well by just pushing it halfway down, and then as soon as you release it will turn off, or like I said, if you click all the way down, then it will hold it on. Now one of the things I like about this light is it's very straightforward to use. At least the way I have this configured, there's no tape switch or anything like that. I just have this button back here, which is pretty close to where my hand will be when firing. So if I want to, I can just tap it and get it to turn on or off. Which on this AK, I think this is about as good a place as any for a light. I've seen it mounted in a couple different areas, but this works for me. And then this original light, this black one here that I have, I had that originally attached to my first AR, which was a Smith & Wesson M&P 15, and I had it in about the 11 o'clock position on the top of the rail, and I actually used one of these CAA mounts. I believe this is the PR2, I believe is what the name of this mount is. And again, it gave me a very similar situation where my thumb was close enough where I could very easily actuate it, turn it on, and turn it off. Now, I want to say this older mode just had an on or off. It didn't have different brightness settings. But it did do the momentary with a half press and then a constant with a full click. So as far as the form factor of these things go, these aren't going to be the lowest profile lights out there. You can compare it to something like an Inforce WML, which is actually almost exactly the same length from tip to the back of the tail cap. These are going to sit a lot closer to any rail that you have just because the rail is integrated, whereas with one of these, if you look at the way this thing would be mounted, it will stick it quite a bit further away from your light and not be quite as ergonomic. So that's something to take in consideration. With this Viking Tactics mount on my AK, it's designed to kick it off to the side, so again it's not going to be as streamlined. But for me, this is more than okay for how I want my AK set up. And really there's all different kinds of options out there as far as how to actually connect your lights to your guns. The market is saturated with different mounting options for 1-inch lights, which is one of the nice things about the dimensions of these PolyTacs. So as far as some of the pros on these lights, obviously they're extremely inexpensive. You can find these brand new, the newer versions, for right around $40 online. If you find a good sale, you might even be able to find them for a little bit cheaper. So that's a extremely good price. I mean, if you take into consideration that you can buy like 7 Surefire Scouts for that price, that's really not too bad. But that said, these aren't exactly going to be the same quality as something like a Surefire Scout. Now, in my experience, these have been pretty durable, but I also haven't really tortured these at all. You can kind of see that there's some paint coming off on different areas on this one where it's been banged around a little bit, but I definitely haven't, tortured this thing or anywhere close to it. So I can't necessarily say that it's going to be as durable as one of the more higher quality options out there. But for what 99% of the people are going to be using their guns for, this is going to be more than enough. For something like home defense, this is going to be more than suitable for what you need it to do. I can also say that having this light mounted to an AK-47, which isn't the softest recoiling thing in the world, I haven't had any issues with this light dying on me or shutting off while using it. Obviously on an AR I've had no issues since the recoil is significantly less, but again, I haven't had any issues. Now I haven't put it on anything like a 308 or a shotgun or anything like that, so I can't speak to the durability at that level. But for something like a 7.62x39, again, it's functioned flawlessly for me at this point. But obviously when it comes to durability, that is going to be one of the things that is questionable for this price. Now I know Streamlight advertises that the polymer that they use is it's like a nylon reinforced polymer that they say is shock resistant, high impact. Basically they say it's going to be very durable, but with anything that's polymer, it's not going to be as strong as something that's metal. I mean, even if you take a look at the TLR1s, you know, at least this does have a metal housing on it, which to me, at least makes me think that it would be a little bit more durable. Whether it actually is or not, I don't know. But, you know, I've never had any issues with one of these. And one thing I want to mention too is even this is going to be a better form factor in a lot of cases because it's going to be a lot tighter to your firearm while maintaining a very similar brightness level. I know a lot of people who use something like a TLR1 for their actual long gun lights as well. So something to keep in mind. The other big thing that I am not a huge fan of when it comes to these lights is the amount of dexterity that it would take to actually use the different light options out there. For anyone who's ever actually been in a high stress situation, you know that your motor skills are reduced significantly. So the fact that you have to very delicately kind of feather this tail cap to get to cycle through the different options, there's no way you're going to be able to do that under stress. And there's no way you're going to be able to only half click under stress. You're going to be actuating it all the way just because, again, you're going to have no fine motor skills anymore. Now, if you do, you know, go white knuckle on it and press it all the way down, you still have the high setting, which isn't a bad thing to have. But again, if you want to try to get to that strobe or anything else, you're going to be hitting it away here. I mean, you could even see at the beginning of the video, I was still having a little bit of trouble getting it to get to the light settings that I actually wanted it. So realistically, under stress, that's not going to be an option. Now, I know they don't just market these as weapon lights. They do also advertise them as just regular handheld EDC style lights. In fact, they do ship with a pocket clip attached to it. It mounts just below the where the bezel meets the body of it, so you can basically take the top off, throw the pocket clip on, and then carry it that way. In that context, I can definitely see the different light modes being useful. However, on a weapon light, with the amount of dexterity that you would need, I don't really see it being something you can effectively use. But again, that's just me. But I guess the bottom line is, you know, if you're looking for an inexpensive but still reasonable quality weapon light, the Streamlight PolyTac is definitely a good option. Like I said, there's numerous mounting options out there, all the way from the inexpensive, like this Viking Tactics one, I want to say I got from Brownells. It was like 25 bucks. It comes with a another thing you can put inside if you have a smaller diameter flashlight. I don't remember how much this CAA one was. Not necessarily one I'd recommend just because it does kind of mount weird and stick it pretty far off your gun, but still another option as well. I know I'm going to continue to use this light on this RAS-47 for a while. You know, this is definitely a budget gun, so there's no reason to spend $600 or the price of the gun on just a weapon light. So I'm going to keep this thing pretty much set up as is, because this light is more than serviceable for what I'm using this rifle for. But if you do have the luxury of having a little bit more money to throw around, then honestly I would probably recommend looking at something like a Surefire Scout Light or even something else like that. I know even Primary Arms is starting to get into the flashlight game a little bit. I've yet to actually try them out, but from what I've heard, they're actually really good quality lights as well. So that might be something to look into. It's going to be a little bit more expensive than the PolyTac, but, you know, another option out there. As far as I am aware, they have metal bodies, so they should be theoretically a little bit more durable. They have the option of tail caps for tape switches, so something to keep in mind. But really, you know, that's about it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and throw those in the comment section below. If you have any recommendations of other high-quality, budget-friendly weapon lights out there, please let me know. I'm always looking for recommendations or suggestions. But as always, I hope you're able to get something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching.